Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it till the end of 2020. We actually did it. I hope. If you're watching this video, congratulations. This year was a fucking disaster, and I am not even mincing words. A lot of things were horribly affected, and it's weird doing a best movies of 2020 list, especially since so much got delayed. However, smaller films, lots of other releases, did have their moment to shine, which was really great. And in a year which had basically no blockbusters beyond March at all, save for two major releases, this was more a smaller film year and one that I kind of appreciate. There was a lot to like in 2020, and I'm going to illustrate that in my top 10 list here. Now, I haven't reviewed all of these movies. Some of them I did, some of them I got the time to that I could because I was watching a lot of movies over the last few days, so I couldn't get all the reviews out. And so there are going to be some fresh thoughts that you're going to be hearing for the very first time as I talk about some of these movies. But before we get started, I do have some honorable mentions that I would like to quickly address as well. The Way Back, great performance by Ben Affleck, a very simple story, told effectively, and with a wonderful performance at the helm of it. Happiest Season, which was a very serious subject of a movie, which was also done in a very lighthearted manner, and one that I believe a lot more people should see, and also had some wonderful performances to anchor it as well. Spontaneous, part rom-com, part teen drama, part horror movie, and it all worked. This was a fantastic film and wonderfully acted, and has a third act that I did not expect. Emma, before The Queen's Gambit this year, Anya Taylor-Joy was in this movie where she gave the best performance at the time of her career. The cinematography, the costume designs, the production, all of it immaculate. Please check it out if you haven't yet. The Invisible Man, Leigh Whannell's new film starring Elizabeth Moss, was excellent. This was a really great horror movie and a very tense one from start to finish, and has one of the best scenes of the year involving a restaurant. The Assistant, a subtle, horrific, quiet movie starring Julia Garner in maybe the best performance of her career, phenomenally acted, and a very quiet film. The Trial of the Chicago 7, wonderfully written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, brilliantly acted, powerful performances, particularly from Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Rylance, and a film that was as tense as it could possibly get. Some issues here and there, but definitely one of the better films of the year. Run was on Hulu and was directed by Anish Chaganty, who also directed the movie Searching, which was fantastic. If you've not seen that movie, I highly recommend it. This movie, starring Sarah Paulson and Kira Allen in her debut role, phenomenal. It was a tense thriller from start to finish and brilliantly executed, and one that is definitely worth putting on your list. I'm Thinking of Ending Things was on Netflix earlier this year, and it was nuts. I'm not going to say any more than that. This movie really should be seen at some point in time because the reactions are probably all over the place, but it does have an outstanding performance from Jessie Buckley that really needs to be witnessed, and it's just surreal. Bad Education was on HBO. Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney absolutely brilliantly carried this film. Great performances from the both. It's a story that is based on true events and wonderfully executed. And finally, Tenet. This is a movie that I liked, but the more I thought about it, and then I saw it a couple of more times, I really like the movie now. It's a film that's definitely divisive. Some people will like it, some people will hate it. I myself think it's really good. It's not one of Nolan's best, but definitely a movie that's worth experiencing in some way or the other. And it also has currently my favorite score of the year from Ludwig Göransson. And now it's time for the top 10 movies of the year. This was a very fun list to make. Starting with number 10. At number 10, Mangrove. This is part of the Small Axe series on Prime Video, which is directed by Steve McQueen. It's the anthology film series. I know a lot of people are calling it TV, but when you have Mangrove, which is 2 hours and 8 minutes long, you have to consider it's not really quite a TV show anymore. Brilliantly acted and tells a devastating story. This film was remarkable. I remember just watching it with stunned silence the whole time, and the shocking factor of it being like, oh, of course this is true. Of course this happened. Was incredibly unsettling to consider. A film that is worthy of every viewing that you can get for it as soon as possible. I also watched the whole series. Definitely checked it out. It's Steve McQueen doing some amazing work. Number 9. At number 9, Sound of Metal. Also on Prime Video. This movie was devastating. It has a career-defining performance from Riz Ahmed, but it also has some of the best sound design of the year and a gut-wrenching story at the middle of it. Masterfully directed and written. Paul Raci, who gives a wonderful supporting actor performance, and Olivia Cooke, who's actually really good in the movie, and a lot of people aren't talking about her. Probably should. She does a wonderful job as well. Number 8. At number 8, One Night in Miami, Regina King's debut movie, and a movie that I did actually review. Performances across the board, fantastic. Wonderful direction. Sometimes it felt a little stiff, like they were still caught up in that play setting of it, a problem that wasn't in another movie. Well, we'll talk more about that in a second. But wonderful written, really well scored, and it's a film that is really worth seeing. The way the conversation that is imagined between all of them in this hotel room, fantastic. Really worth checking out when it finally does hit somewhere near you. If you are going to be able to go to a theater right now, you can check it out there as well. Number 7. At number 7, Menk. This was a movie that I really liked, and I know a lot of people were divided on it. But this movie did what I wanted it to do, which was to tell a story about how and what led to the writing of Citizen Kane. And the more I think about it, the more I love this movie. It's one of the few movies I gave a full score to this year because I just felt so good about it after watching it, and I still feel the same way. This is a very visually stunning movie, great score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and it is masterfully directed. Please give it a chance if you've not seen it. Gary Oldman and Amanda Seyfried give performances that are fantastic. Number 6. At number 6, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This is a movie that I actually did film the review for, but it was very hard to sort of go through it because it was hard forming proper sentences because I kept thinking about how Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us. And that hits a lot harder when you're watching this movie, considering that this is his final role and he gives the best performance of his career and one that will hopefully get him a posthumous Best Supporting Actor Oscar. He really was just getting started, and that's the real tragedy of it. Viola Davis, however, is not to be overlooked. She was fantastic in this movie. She gave a performance that was so wonderfully layered, brilliantly directed. And like I mentioned with One Night in Miami, I said sometimes it felt like it was still a stage play. This never felt like that. It utilized its environments and the direction skills perfectly, and it led to a staggering film. There's especially 2 monologues in this from Boseman that is it. Like, that's the price of admission right there. Or a Netflix click in this case. Number 5. At number 5, Promising Young Woman. This was a very strange movie, and I am curious to hear from more people as the days go by what they think of it. This is a film, like I said in my review, has a very make it or break it final act. It's a movie that you might end up really loving by the end or really hating by the end. The more I think about it, the more I love it. Carey Mulligan gives maybe my favorite performance of the year in this. She is phenomenal. And the way it's shot, edited, written, directed, soundtrack, all of it, beautiful. Please check this movie out when you do, mainly because of the conversations around it. There's just a lot to say about it, and I'm curious to hear all the thoughts in the world. Number 4. At number 4, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I saw this movie back in April. I recently revisited it again because when I watched it, I was very tired. That's not the right way to watch a movie. But I finally got a chance to then see it again, and this floored me. Sydney Flanagan in her debut role, phenomenal. And she's getting awards at critic circles right now, which are absolutely well deserved. The actual scene based around the 4 words in the title is devastating to watch. This is a movie that I especially love because of how real it is. At one point, you forget you're even watching a movie. You are essentially feeling like you're watching someone's life story in front of you. And it feels so authentic, and it feels so much more moving because of it. The fact that that was accomplished in this movie was incredibly moving. And it's a film that really needs to be seen by a lot of people. If you haven't seen it yet, please do check it out. It's on HBO Max, and I know a lot of people recently got that thanks to Wonder Woman 1984. So now that you have it, please make sure you get to see this as well. Number 3. At number 3, Soul. This was phenomenal. Another film that just absolutely crushed me. Beautiful score, animation, and just such a vivid sense of life, and the messaging around it was glorious. It was a film that I am happy to revisit more and more as the years go by. It's a movie that I'm happy to recommend to a lot of people, and it's a movie that is just deserving of a lot of love. There are some complaints on it, though, I've heard from some people. There's definitely some things about it which are big swings in terms of its narration, but it's a film that I can gladly say deserves to be on the top, at least in my top three. Number two. At number two, The Five Bloods. This was my first 10 out of 10 of the year, and it's a film that I have looked to ever since then. It's a film that is masterfully directed. Delroy Lindo gives my favorite actor performance of the year. He is phenomenal in it. The way it's shot, the camera uses, especially during the time jumps and flashbacks, excellent execution all around. This movie was a downright it's great. This is great. This is one of Spike Lee's best, and it's a film that's incredibly timely as well. If you get a chance to see it, if you have seen it, then you know what I'm talking about, and it absolutely deserves all the love that it could possibly get. Now we're up to number one. I think you can guess what this is. Maybe not. If you've been on my channel for a while, maybe you can. But this is a movie that ever since I saw it, I just knew that this is my movie of the year. And I'll explain why right now. Madland. Chloe Zhao's film starring Frances McDormand once again taps into that idea of it stops being a movie at one point. There is an idea to film that you want to go for escapism all the time, which is fine. And there are movies like that. We just had one. Wonder Woman 1984 is a very escapist movie. But movies like this, which capture life, especially that which Frances McDormand's character is living in this movie, is just sublime and beautiful in its own way. And Zhao directs the absolute living shit out of it. This is a glorious movie. It's gorgeous to look at, the best cinematography maybe of the year. It has a performance from Frances McDormand that honestly, it's amazing how she continues to top herself. She gave a great performance a couple of years ago, which got her an Oscar, and I think she's even better in this movie. And she's already been talked about for her next Oscar, so that should be a lot of fun. This movie is not yet out for a lot of people. I saw this as part of the film festival, New York Film Festival to be precise. But I'm looking forward to more people seeing it. I believe the release that they've given is February 2021 now. It's weird reviewing a film like this, especially given that, but since I did see it in 2020 and review it in 2020, it made sense to put it on the final list. Please give it a chance when it does finally release. And that's my list of 2020, you guys. This was a tumultuous year. Like I said, a lot of stuff happened that I didn't really plan. No one did. And yet, here we are. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for being with me this entire year, whoever you are. I know this is not the biggest channel in the world. 1.24K subscribers is nothing compared to some of the bigger channels out there. But I appreciate every single one of you. Whoever comes in here, whoever decides to listen to me talk about film or games or TV shows, I appreciate every single one of you. Here's looking forward, hopefully, to a better 2021. One where we can go back to the theaters more frequently instead of worrying about, getting a virus from it. That should be pretty nice, hopefully. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.